All right, boys and girls, we're back. Next title, last title we read was The Art of Human Watching. We're on page 85, Puppy Eyes. It's mid-morning, still pretty early. There aren't many visitors around yet. We got a meeting in 20, George tells a couple of workers, Hank and Sonia, who groan. Just a quick one, going over contingency plans one last time in case there's any flooding. During the last hurricane, a small part of the park flooded, mostly near Reptileville. George helped move cages. He came home smelling like cottonmouths and copperheads. It was all I could do not to barf. Weather Service just issued a tornado watch, Hank says. I thought we were having a hurricane, Julia says. We are, Gus, but sometimes tornadoes are spawned during hurricanes, George explains. Julia frowns. But watch means maybe, not for sure, right? Yeah, but I want you to head home, George says, just in case. Please, Dad, just 10 minutes, Julia says. She's using that special voice she reserves for moments when she really, really wants something from her parents. I guess kids manipulate their moms and dads the same as dogs manipulate humans. I don't know, George begins. I promised Bob. I figure that's my cue to pop my head out and look adorable, so I do. Hey, Bob, says Hank. Sonia reaches over and scratches my ears. I'm pretty popular around the park. I gave George my best puppy eyes, and he caves. 10 minutes tops, he says. Meet me back here. Puppy eyes. Works every time. Next title, Mr. Oog. Here's how I figure puppy eyes got their start. Cave humans were sitting around a fire wearing mammoth fur and grunting about how there was nothing on TV because TV hadn't been invented yet. And some wily wolf thought, whoa, they got leftover mammoth meat. And he probably whimpered and cowered and did a tummy display and looked pathetic enough that Mr. Oog finally tossed him a bone. And soon enough, a few zillion years later, voila, man's best friend. After all that time, there's a thing, like a magnetic attraction between dogs and humans. We studied them for so long we can read every twitch and sigh. Suppose it was easier than chasing down mammoths. And I get it, I do. The behind-the-ear scratch, the food in the fancy bowl, the bed by the fireplace. Gotta admit that Julia's pretty fun to hang out with, and I'm grateful, really am, that her family took me in. Still, I don't need them. You need someone, you eventually they let you down, and you end up feeling like a real doofus. Next title, The Park. As Julia walks, I sneak peeks out of her backpack like I always do. We pass by the meerkat family poking out from their den holes like a whack-a-mole game they used to have at Max Mall. I see the flashy flamingos with their one-legged balancing act, and the terrifyingly beautiful tigers. Even their cute cubs give me the willies. Finally, I noticed families I've noticed take a lot of different shapes. Jim and Joe, the penguins, adopted an abandoned egg, and they are the sweetest dotting parents you've ever saw. I see it with the humans at the park too. Families of all shapes and sizes and colors and genders, and yep, they all seem to do just fine. We round a corner past Sea Otter Alley. Oliver and Olivia are floating calmly on their backs, holding each other's paws. It's pretty adorable, I have to admit. But me, I don't need the trouble that comes with family. Babies puking, toddlers whining, spouses nagging. Talk about a design flaw. There's a picture of Julia and Bob. Next title, Change. The park's pretty big. Lots of twisty paths and fascinating smells. All the parts have names. There's the African Aviary, the Outback, Penguin Cove, Lemur Land. It's like puzzle pieces of the world. A little Africa here, a little Asia there. Dogs, you can find us pretty much everywhere. Our territory is Earth. As long as we're hooked up with humans, that is. Along with shady paths, volunteer guides will answer your questions. They'll tell you about how animals used to roam one part of the world or another until things changed. Things changed. That's one thing I figured out. Don't ever assume the little patch of the planet belongs to you. Things change. Boxes go flying. Next title, My Inner Wolf. On our way, we always stop by the wolf habitat. Julia loves wolves, probably because they remind her of me. You have to look hard, maybe squint a little, but if you try, you can catch a hint of my inner wolf. It's in the eyes mostly, also in my distinguished profile. I dream I'm a wolf sometimes, and when I wake up, I'm panting and my fur's on alert, and I'm feeling, yeah, the world could hurt me, but I could hurt the world right back even harder. Like there's a dangerous, hard part of me chained inside, struggling to go free and just, I don't know, get even. Then I go see what's for breakfast. Next title, Kimu. There's a gray wolf at the park who makes me a little jittery. Jittery, as in sometimes I worry he might like to eat me. His name's Kimu. And we struck up a conversation when a mutual acquaintance of ours, a mockingbird called Mitch, introduced us one day. Like Nutwit, Mitch likes to taunt me because I'm domesticated. Gives me a lot of grief about how free he is, soaring stringlessly over the whole town. I'm not the only one who's pampered, I said one day. I mean, look at Kimu. He's not exactly running wild. As soon as the words came out of my mouth, I regretted them. And when I looked at Kimu's "I could kill you with one quick bite" expression, I really regretted them. In any case, I said, moving the subject along. I've lived wild. It ain't a picnic for a dog. What was it like? Kimu asked. He moved closer to the edge of his domain. He had a strange odor, intense and scary, and a little bit intoxicating. Well, I was just a pup, I said, abandoned by the side of the highway. Kimu was listening intently. Must have been tough. All I could think was food and water. I didn't like the catch in my voice. Owl got me. Those guys are fierce, Kimu said. Can't hear 'em coming. I know, right? I relaxed a little. I hate owls, said Mitch. Hate them with a passion. They eat birds, you know. So do wolves, said Kimu, giving Mitch a meaningful look. So you were wild once? I asked Kimu. Never. Born and raised in captivity. Suzu over there, she was. She's told us stories of what would curl your fur. That would curl your fur. Honestly, it's nice to have a roof over my head. It's tough out there, man. Really tough. I suppose, said Kimu. I looked at him, and for the first time wondered if I really did have any wolf in me. He was a majestic animal with teeth that could shred a tree trunk. I am also majestic, but more portable, with teeth that could mangle a pencil with enough time and effort. Hey, Bob, Mitch said. Do dogs howl the way wolves do? Of course we do. So let's hear something. A duet, maybe. He fluttered his wings, revealing startling patches of white. Do you know Talk to the Animals? They play that on the carousel. Go away, Mitch, said Kimu, with just the right amount of menace in his voice. Come on, just a little howling. Pretend there's a moon. Pretend you're free. Pretend. Kimu growled, and so did I. His was pretty impressive. It spoke of death and dismemberment and all kinds of unpleasant bird nightmares. I growled too. It spoke of me being mildly peeved. Still, Mitch got the message. He disappeared. A blur of wings. Actually, I've never howled at the moon, I admitted. Me neither, said Kimu. I'd feel kind of silly doing it here. All right. We're on page 100. Next title, Enrichment.